Hey everybody, welcome to Favorite Game Friday. This is a show where we have a group of contributors with completely different tastes in gaming talking about their favorite game in the category of the week. This week we're talking all about board games that remind us of video games or board games that are based on video games. Make sure to leave in the comments down below your favorite board game that is based on or reminds you of a video game, and let's get to all of our contributors' clips.
Assalamu alaikum. The board game which feels most like a video game, in my opinion, is Adrenaline. Now this takes me back to my college and school years when I used to play Unreal Tournament and Quack a lot. These days children play Roblox and Fortnite and Call of Duty more, which isn't the kind of same thing, because Quack used to be and Adrenaline is the same kind of thing, which is confined in a sci-fi arena, and you are respawning over and over and trying to get the perfect kill over each other, trying to grab the biggest gun, the most coolest gun, and then shooting each other before you die. And that's the exact same kind of feeling that you're going to get in Adrenaline. So that's why my favorite board game, which gives me the feeling of a video game, is Adrenaline. Takes me back to the school years. Happy gaming.
Hey friends and gamers, it's Frenchie. Happy Friday. What game gives Frenchie that video game experience? Well, it has to be Under Falling Skies. This is a game in which you are having a mothership spawning other ships down on the board. You're rolling your dice and strategically placing them on your base to go ahead and get energy and blast those ships out of the sky, but most importantly to raise your research track up to the top before the mothership descends too far or before your base is destroyed. You can see the gray hairs on Frenchie's chinny chin chin. I've been around for a couple of days, and so I remember those old video game consoles in the arcade, playing them for hours as a kid. This game brings back that experience in a nice board game feel, plus it's in color versus black and white. Anyway, that's my pick for this Friday, and until next week, play dice.
There are actually a number of video game board games that have come out lately, but haven't played it, still in shrink wrap. Haven't played it, at least it's not in shrink wrap, but the rule book's like 34 pages, something ridiculous. Did like Deep Rock Galactic, but my favorite video game, board game, was actually Minecraft Portal Dash. This was surprisingly fun with the cube, so gotta give it to this one.
I think the best board game adaptation of a video game is Jetpack Joyride. This real-time tile-laying game really captures the frenetic feeling of weaving your way through a dangerous obstacle course.
The two games that come to mind when I think of video games that are related to board games are Age of Empires and Age of Mythology. Age of Empires is a fantastic board game, even better I think than the video game. Age of Mythology, we've house ruled the heck out of it. Out of the box, not the greatest game. The video game, though, is fantastic. But neither one of these games really reminds me of playing a video game. The board game that actually reminds me the most of playing a video game is a game called High Noon Saloon. And this game reminds me of like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or Street Fighter, where you're just going in there and you're pounding the heck out of each other. In this game, you're all thrown into a barroom brawl. You can hang on the chandeliers, there's 6 shooters, you can do melee attacks with knives, you can hide behind the bar and come out and hit somebody over the head with a whiskey bottle, or throw them out the front picture window of the saloon. It's just a crazy fighting, beat each other up, and it's fast paced. It's a really, really fun game. So I highly recommend High Noon Saloon. Happy Friday.
Hey everybody, my pick this week is a roll and write by Reiner Knizia, which is a perfect implementation of a game that's been on every single person's cell phone since 1997, and that's Space Worm, a game where you're basically playing Snake in roll and write form.
My pick this week is Castle Panic, because it's a game where you're playing cards and defeating enemies, and it feels exactly like a tower defense video game.
Totally. All right. Well, let's go play some board games. Happy Friday, everybody.
Bye.
I think a lot of board games have tried to give the feel of video games, but I think it's really hard to do. I think maybe the obvious thing to do is to think about games that integrate with an app, because then you have kind of this mix of board game and video game. But for my choice, I'm going to go for just a board game with no app integration. And it's one that gives me the feeling of the open world games like Zelda Breath of the Wild. You can see it sneaking right over my right shoulder. It is Sleeping Gods. Sleeping Gods is my choice. A big epic adventure where nothing is on rails. You can go pretty much anywhere you want, and you are trying to find totems that allow you to progress a story along. And so it just, the look of the game, the feel of the game, this wide open, go where you want, I think evokes some of those open world video games, especially Zelda Breath of the Wild. So there you go. That's my choice, Sleeping Gods.
Hi, it's Barb Nebel, PhD, and my favorite game that gives me the feeling of a video game is Seventh Continent. This is a game where you are exploring out a map, trying to rid yourself of a curse. And as we were playing it, we commented about how much it made us feel like an old school video game, something like The Legend of Zelda, but also a modern board game that has the storytelling weaved into the game mechanics. So that's why this is my favorite, Seventh Continent. Happy Friday, everyone.
For me, I really enjoy 4X games, and fantasy 4X games is like my favorite genre overall. Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea reminds me of Heroes of Might and Magic or Age of Wonders, that style of game. I love building up all of my units and resources and going out into combat. It's a lot of fun. Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
What's happening, Dice Tower? It's Andrew here with Table Talk, a dope board game YouTube channel for literally anyone. If you want a dope video game feeling board game, look no further than Project Elite. You're rolling dice like crazy. It's chaotic. It's fun in real time, 2-minute speed rounds, mowing down zombies like Halo. You really feel legendary when you get giant laser weapons, swords, and are cutting down oncoming waves of aliens. Check it out if you want a fun video game, Project Elite. With all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.
Hello everyone, Merlin's Manor here for Favorite Game Friday, and as soon as I heard the prompt for this week, favorite game that reminds you of playing a video game, I immediately thought of Under Falling Skies. This is a solo game where you are, basically it's like Galaga or Space Invaders, where you have these alien ships coming down towards the planet and you're trying to keep them from hitting the planet by destroying them while you're raising this research track. And this really reminds me of those types of video games. I really enjoy it. Happy Friday, everyone.
All right, everybody. I know you guys all want me to be the next overseer in this here bunker. So in order to do that, we gotta make a few changes, okay? We need Tom. I need you to go and make that games room the best it can be. You know that's what brings smiles to people's faces, am I right? Yeah. So I need Milla. Go take care of the rad roaches in the diner. Big problem there. But I know you can handle it. Do whatever you gotta do. Z, I need you, and maybe take Joey with you. Head out and see if there are any raiders out there. If there are, use your charm and your smile. Do what you can to get us some new recruits. And don't forget to take your lunchbox and your stim pack. Very important. We do not need you guys in medbay. And then, remember, most of all, that you're special. SPECIAL. You guys all know what that stands for. Let's go out, bring some smiles to people's faces, get me some votes. All right, let's do it.
Hi, I'm Josh from the YouTube channel Josh Yaks, and one of my games that feels somewhat like a video game is the 1 to 4 player cooperative board game V Commandos that has since been renamed to V Sabotage. Player characters are the Second World War commandos, and they all have their own skills and equipment and so forth, so it does have a feel of a first-person shooter game. But because the commando warfare is all about sneaking around and not being seen or discovered by the German guards, it very much has the feel of one of those stealth video games where you got to sneak around the facility and accomplish your mission and get out of there safely. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, Favorite Game Friday, it's Chris and Angie from the Chasing Meeples podcast, and the game we want to talk to you about this week that gives us that video game feel is
Overboss. Overboss is a tile lane, tile drafting game, but it has that 8-bit graphic that feels like that back in the day old school video game. Do you know the reason why I really love this game?
Why?
The box is purple.
I thought you were going to say because you always win.
That too.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Keep chasing those meat.
Whose turn is it next? Answer me! Yes, my gatekeeper. Rob here, and it's hard not to talk about video game board games without talking about the OG video board game. I'm talking about Atmosphere, or as it was originally known, Nightmare, the video board game. I feel you're stretching it out, Maggot. Yes, it's a roll and move. Yes, it's the same VHS tape every game, unless you get the less impressive expansions. But the last 5 minutes of this game is an experience that is not to be missed. Unless, of course, you're a maggot!
What's happening, Favorite Game Friday? My name is Ludame. I'm the owner and host of Ludame Games, and the only video game adaptation of a board game that I've actually played was Portal, the uncooperative cake acquisition game from Jeep Barnett. A game obviously based off of the Portal games, but completely changes the objective. Whereas in the video games, you're obviously trying to use portal guns to reach some form of exit of some kind. In the board game, you're actually in a revolving laboratory, and you're actually trying to use cards in combination with your portal guns to manipulate your test subjects in the lab to try and get as much of your cake out on the board as possible by the time one player loses all of their test subjects. Definitely not as connected with the source material as other games for sure, but I still found it to be a pretty enjoyable puzzle-style game. Happy Friday, everyone!
Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Julian from Box Meeple. So Libby's favourite board game that reminds her of video games is actually Overboss. With its 16-bit graphics, reminds her of all those adventure games. Meanwhile, while we're talking about adventure games, I'm a big fan of Tiny Epic Quest. If you look at this box, you'll recognise the Zelda influences, and that carries over to the game too. But you're looking at a big overworld. But don't worry, the water temple's not as frustrating as it is in those Zelda games. And if you are interested in board games that video game players might like, we've done a video on our channel just about that.
Hi everyone, I'm Nathan, this is Lucky, and there's Puppy. And our favorite board game that kind of simulates a video game is of course Cartographers, which sends you weird shaped pieces and you have to fit them in the right place as quick as you can.
Hey everybody, your grandpa left you a farm. You quit your job under the office lights and moved to Stardew Valley. Buy crops from Pierre's. Rebuild the community center. Even visit Grumpy Old George.
Feeling adventurous? Go deep in the mines, fighting monsters and gaining ore.
That can be a bit scary, so buy some animals from Marnie and raise them to produce goods you can sell for profit. Catch some fish, get Robin to construct new farm buildings, and upgrade your tools with Clint. Nobody likes Clint.
Happy Friday, everyone. Clay here with Beer City Board Games. So this week we're talking about games that have a video game feel to them, and for me that's got to be Project Elite. There aren't a lot of real-time games that I really enjoy, but this one is action-packed. There's wave after wave of aliens swarming you, not to mention the big bosses. You've got to roll dice as fast as possible within each of the 2-minute timers to try to take out as many of these aliens as you can while completing different objectives to win the game. This is as close to the frantic energy of a high-action video game that I've played in board game form. So that's my pick for this week, Project Elite.
There are so many amazing video games out there, and it's cool when you see board games that have kind of that video game feel in them. Make sure to leave down in the comments below what board game reminds you of a video game. Make sure to check out our contributors from all around the world who join in here on Favorite Game Friday. We would love to have you join in and be a part of Favorite Game Friday, and if you'd like to be a part of next week's episode, make a super short video and put it in the Google Drive link down below. Next week we're talking about filler games. What is a game that you can get to the table before you get to that main event game during your game day? A super short, interesting filler game. What's one that you get to the table over and over again? Super easy. Make a super short video, put that in the Google Drive link down below, and you can be a part of next week's Favorite Game Friday. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing weekend and have a blast. I'll see you on the next one.